Welcome back. You're watching NewsX. I'm Pratap Singh. Prime Minister Narendra Modi is on a two-day visit to Sri Lanka. He was welcomed with an unprecedented ceremonial guard of honor at the Independence Square in Colombo this morning. The welcome is symbolic of India's close ties with Sri Lanka. Apart from this, PM Modi was conferred the highest state honor of Sri Lanka, the Mitra Vibhushan. Following delegation-level talks with Sri Lankan President Anuradhapura Disanyake, 7 crucial MOUs were also inked. During his visit, PM Modi has paid tributes to the Indian peacekeeping forces, soldiers who served in Sri Lanka during the crisis in 1980s. That's not all. Prime Minister Modi also is all set to visit Anuradhapura now tomorrow. It's the ancient capital of Sri Lanka, a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Anuradhapura is a city of immense historical and cultural significance. Located in the north-central province, it stands as a testament to the cultural and religious ties between India and Sri Lanka. It's home to some of the holiest Buddhist sites in Sri Lanka. PM Modi will be accompanied by the Sri Lankan President Anuradhapura Disanyake during his trip to Anuradhapura. The two leaders will first offer prayers at the Sri Mahabodhi tree, a revered Buddhist site, before heading to Anuradhapura railway station to inaugurate the new signal system for Sri Lanka's northern railway line. Vijay Kranti Chairman Chase is live with us. Commander Bhushan Diwan, former Navy officer, also joins us live. Madhav Nalapat, editorial director of the Sunday Guardian, is also joining the broadcast. Madhav Nalapat, let me come to you on this. The Prime Minister, of course, continuing this historic visit to Sri Lanka tomorrow. He, along with the Sri Lankan President, will inaugurate a very crucial railway line. Again, significant of India's, development projects and works in Sri Lanka, and friendship and outreach to the economically to the island nation. But also this visit to Anuradhapura, what is the cultural significance of it as well?
Look, as far as the railway line is concerned, it's going towards the northern areas, which has been neglected for some time, and that these are Tamil majority areas. I'd like to say that Prime Minister Modi put the Tamil issue front and center, and I think that's a very good point. And I would like to give full credit to President Anura as well. The fact is, both the Prime Minister has definitely reset relations with Sri Lanka. There's no doubt about it. And he has found a willing partner in President Disanyake. So I'm very delighted that so many important points are being covered, including the very important point about the Tamil factor. And I think Prime Minister Modi did well to visit the memorial for the fallen soldiers. For a simple reason, it is not a defeated army. Politicians in Sri Lanka tried to get a defeated Sinhala politicians by arming the LTTE, a terrorist force, but that did not work. Finally, it is because the government of that time, Premadasa, who was very hostile to India, he asked the Indian forces to leave. So the Indian forces, at that time VP Singh was the Prime Minister, they left. But they left undefeated, let me tell you. Completely undefeated. So that's something that we can be proud of. And I think it's very important for the Prime Minister to have gone there and offered his prayers, for a simple reason that unfortunate history of Sri Lanka, of what happened in the 80s and that kind of insurgency, that Tamil separatism, a terror group, LTT taking over, and it took a long time to subdue it. IPKF could have done it. Unfortunately, Premadasa did not permit that, and he paid with his life for that. The LTT finished him off, which was, after all that he did for them, they just finished him off ruthlessly. That's the kind of people that terrorists are. You don't deal with them. You ensure that they are no longer, that they are neutralized. So I think the Prime Minister did very well in paying homage to the fallen soldier for a simple reason. They did not go back defeated. They went back a victorious force, and frankly, if Premadasa allowed them to continue, believe me, they would have prevailed over the LTTE, and not only that, Premadasa would not have lost his life at the hands of the LTTE the way he did, and Sri Lanka would not have endured so many more years of travail and violence as it did because of this very unwise decision by Premadasa to first arm and fund the LTTE secretly and then basically tell the IPKF to leave. The undefeated army left, and it's very good that the Prime Minister has paid homage to a fallen soldier. Our soldiers are the best in the world, absolutely valorous, courageous, and great fighters, and the Prime Minister has respected them from the very beginning, very beginning. You know, you have, for example, Lal Bahadur Shastri saying Jai Kisan, Jai Jawan. That is also the Prime Minister's motto, Jai Kisan or Jai Jawan. And the Jawan is somebody that we all need to honor, and the Prime Minister has honored the Jawan. And as far as Anuradhapura is concerned, yes, I've been there. I've been there as a UNESCO professor, which I still am, and it's a very beautiful site. And I must tell you that almost every Buddhist temple, at least every temple I visited, Buddhist temple, there were images of Lord Ganesh inside the temple. So there is the happy coexistence of religion, and that needs to be the rule rather than the exception throughout the world. Happy coexistence of religion, and I'm very happy to see that President Dissanayaka is keeping that spirit alive. And I think by that, with the help of Prime Minister Modi, he will ensure that the bad old days never come back to Sri Lanka, and Sri Lanka enters upon a path to prosperity, as symbolized by that railway to the north, Uday.
Okay, let me in fact quickly also join now at this point Vijay Kranti. Vijay Kranti, the Prime Minister has always gone to these sites of spiritual and cultural significance in Sri Lanka. We're putting out some of them on Narendra Modi's previous visits to Sri Lanka, and this trip also includes this visit to Anuradhapura tomorrow. Now, the fact that Dissanayaka is going to accompany him as well, again, is another evidence of the friendship, the closeness that he is according to PM Modi on this visit. Your interpretation of that gesture, and also this visit tomorrow to this site, what does it mean?
Yeah, as far as the Anuradhapura visit is concerned, it once again underlines the deep cultural relations between Sri Lanka and India. And these relations throughout the history have been the biggest binding force between the two nations, between the two societies. And when Prime Minister goes to Anuradhapura with some developmental projects also and paying tribute also, that only shows, number one, the President Anura, he also understands the nature of his guest, Mr. Modi, who is a devout person, who has very deep spiritual and religious leanings. And by taking him to Anuradhapura, President Anura is somewhere acknowledging something which binds both sides. And that is, I think, a very wise diplomatic step of President Anura. The other, which I see is far still more important, is that President Anura has been known more for his political ideology as a leftist, which was initially believed to be anti-India. And there were fears when he was elected that the relations between India and Sri Lanka might suffer further. But one is surprised to see that the decisions taken by Mr. President Anura have proved simply otherwise. He chose India as the first country to visit after he was elected, which is a very significant point. In international diplomacy, this is a very clear indication. The choice of the elected leader to make his or her first visit to a foreign land is a very clear indication of what this new leader thinks and what his or her priorities are. So President Anura very clearly underlined that his priorities include a better relationship, good relationship with India, and then Prime Minister, he also invited Prime Minister Modi as his first foreign guest, which is not something small. Especially if you see the history of Sri Lanka's relations in recent years, for them China has been always number one, and there was hardly any number two. So which has been a great irritant in relations between Sri Lanka and India. And here he is putting everything in a very different direction, which is which is an indicative of now a new era of relations between India and Sri Lanka, and especially the MOUs. If you see each MOU, each subject of MOU, uh, it indicates that Sri Lanka acknowledges that India is not only the first neighbor, it is also first friend. And everything which Sri Lanka needs today because of its unfortunate situation in economy, everything it needs, this visit of Modi is fulfilling that, which is a very positive development. And I would look at it as a diplomatic victory of both President Anura as well as Prime Minister Modi. Both of them have, uh, the direction which they have now set for relations between these two countries are going to remove many of those fears which had been rather cemented in past few decades because of what the kind of meddling China has been doing here. So, and especially this the understanding on defense issues, that is going to play a very important role in uh, the peace situation, security situation in the Indian Ocean. And here I can visualize that the things are going to be far more convenient for India and also for Sri Lanka in near future because of this visit.
Let me take that to
Uday.
you, Commander Bhushan Devan, then, on this aspect of security ties and defense cooperation, because one of the key MOUs, of course, is on defense. It pertains to defense. But if, there is now, this elevation of our relationship with Sri Lanka post this visit, obviously that will not please China, who will be viewing this visit very closely. But where do you really see security and defense ties? How much of a fillip this visit is given moving forward?
Uday, I think it's a beautiful beginning, but it was a partnership which was waiting for many years to happen. And I see this relationship, this Mr. Modi's visit to Sri Lanka immediately after his BIMSTEC visit, I see it in the global context. After President Trump took over as president of USA on 20th January, he has reverse the clock of globalization. Now, what does that mean? That means the regional arrangements, regional blocks come into prominence. And no wonder SAARC, of course, which is a defunct bloc for many years because of Pakistan's presence in that, absent presence in that, BIMSTEC, Bay of Bengal Initiative for Multi-Sectoral Technical and Economic Cooperation, consisting of 7 countries, in which India, of course, is there, Sri Lanka is there, Bhutan, Bangladesh, Myanmar, and Nepal. The point is, these blocks, whether economic closeness, defense closeness, cultural closeness, geopolitical issues, geostrategic issues, military issues, all will come to the fore. At the same time, things like CSC. What is CSC? Colombo Security Conclave, which is a conclave of 5 countries started in 2014 by NSAs of these 5 countries. 5 countries meaning India, Sri Lanka, Maldives, and later on joined by Bangladesh and Mauritius. And these countries have signed a security conclave for the joint defense of the Indian Ocean, these 5 countries. So that will really come into play big time. I have fought the 71 war, and I can tell you that since beginning, since many decades, Sri Lankan officers keep coming to India, naval personnel, army personnel for training. in our army establishments, air force establishments, naval establishments, courtesy the British history of similar structures, similar systems. Now, those things have to take a big jump, big lead, and this defense cooperation is not only training, it is joint exercises, it is interoperability in the sense that in case of a common threat, the two forces, armed forces of Sri Lanka and armed forces of India, should be able to operate with common protocols smoothly. And last but not the least, a lot of defense equipment, defense systems exchange. And the point is, today, in today's world, if not today's world, since time immemorial, I think, trade and war, economy and war are closely interrelated. Now, in between, Sri Lanka has learnt a lesson that being very, very close to China is counterproductive. So Maldives, again, similar story, they have learned is a different issue. Well, of course, it is known that whether inside the home, inside the family, we have differences, or with close neighbors, we have differences. With distant neighbors, we don't have. So neighborhood first policy of ours, Mahasagar policy of ours, all these are initiatives to ensure that the neighbors come close. And as I said in my opening remark just now, courtesy the anti-globalization wave, these things are going to pick up momentum. And coming to defense, surely it will come a big time. But one major irritant, two things I want to mention. IPKF, as Professor Madhav Lalapat mentioned, well, despite the bravery and sacrifices of 1,200 Indian military personnel in Sri Lanka between 1987 and 1990, who had gone there at the time of during the time of Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi's prime ministership, and in order to help Sri Lanka to fight the terrorist menace, LTT menace. Well, they had to come away suddenly, as Professor Madhav brought out quite nicely. And so those lessons for the security of Sri Lanka are very much there, not lost for Sri Lankans. That is one part, so that is a forgotten chapter. Second important part is, even today, there are Indian fishermen who are arrested and captured by the Sri Lankan Navy, because Sri Lanka has come up with serious fishery protection act in their country. And there is a Kachatibu Island, which is about 40 kilometers northeast of Rameshwaram, and that is a very big fishing island onto which traditionally Indian fishermen as well as Sri Lankan fishermen go there. And without proper aids, maritime aids, navigational aids, Indian fishing boats can perhaps step into Sri Lankan territory. So in today's today's talk between President Dishar Naike and Prime Minister Modi, 11 Indian fishermen are going to be released immediately. And this issue will be, as Prime Minister Modi has mentioned, should be dealt quite from humanitarian aspect. So going forward, I think the whole environment, and historically we know that 2011 terrorist attack of Sri Lanka, India has come up big time to help Sri Lanka. And in 2022, when IMF loan bailout, India provided, and India had been supporting a lot of development projects in Sri Lanka using loans, through loans. But many of those have been converted into grants. So these things are very much binding and solidifying our relation. And the new thing today in the economic energy sector, India is very prominent in ISA as in International Solar Alliance. So India is prominent in that, and that is where India is helping out Sri Lanka to get into solar energy big time. And another thing, for oil and gas security of Sri Lanka, there's a plan to have 400 kilometers pipeline along with UAE there, supporting that initiative from Nagapattinam, Tamil Nadu to Trincomalee. Trincomalee is an old huge British seaport. And
right.
So that is, yeah.
Right.
So
let me get in Jahan Pereira as well. Jahan Pereira, come in here on this cultural visit tomorrow. Just take us through this, pilgrimage site which will be visited by Prime Minister Modi and President Dissanayake, what the significance of it is, why it was selected, and how it signifies close cultural, historic ties between our two nations as well.
Yeah, Prime Minister Modi will be visiting the sacred Bodhi tree. This is the tree under which Lord Buddha attained enlightenment. Now, the tree in Sri Lanka, in Anuradhapura, where he's going, is a sapling of the original tree under which Lord Buddha attained enlightenment. So it's a very sacred site for the Buddhists. Now, I think the reason Prime Minister Modi is going to that particular place is to assuage the concerns of the Sinhalese people, the Sinhalese majority, 75% of the people of this country, that India is not unduly biased towards the Tamils. Because, I mean, given that, Tamil Nadu is just 30, 40 kilometers away from Sri Lanka and has close relationship with with the Tamils in Sri Lanka, there is a sense that India might be more pro-Tamil. I mean, that's the sense of the Sinhalese, though the Tamils, our own Tamils, don't think that India is pro-Tamil in that way. But so it's to assuage that concern, because the Sinhalese also have a historical memory that invasions came from Tamil Nadu, India, from the south of India, long ago. And then what happened during the early LTT period, when again India was a sort of a base for the Tamil militants to go and regroup and recoup and come back to Sri Lanka. So I think that is the main reason. He's reaching out to the Sinhala majority and saying, we are a friend of all the people in our country. And I think that is very important, because Sinhala nationalism is a very strong force. And this government actually held to those values and that ideology in the past. But they have transcended it. And they are now a government, I believe, a president who's thinking of the country as a whole, the interests of the country. And so they have changed. But there's those in the opposition, waiting to undermine this government, and they will use Sinhala nationalism to do that. And maybe the defense treaty, whatever, they'll say, oh, Sri Lanka this government has given too much to India, and now India will come into our country. That type of thing also is there. That's also at work. So it's in any relationship, you've got to work at it. And I'm very glad that this visit has taken place and this defense agreement has been signed. It provides a basis of trust on which these contentious issues, such as the fishermen's issue and China, or China's economic investments in Sri Lanka, which will probably continue, that they can be discussed in a spirit of trust.
My thanks to all of our guests for joining us on this discussion. It's time for a very short break. Stay with us.